Hello, everyone, and welcome to tonight's Getting Tune. I am Michael Gracia, and I have a wonderful show planned tonight. I got two great guests coming on, as you guys saw in the beginning. Before the countdown happened, it is Friz Freleng's birthday today. An amazing director, had a great career in animation, and best known for his work on Looney Tunes. And we're going to talk about that tonight. But before I bring on my guests, I want you guys to remember right there at the Wiz Comic on both Facebook and Instagram every Wednesday. You can also go on Amazon and get a copy of your book, The Whimsical Wiz. This is the 2023 collection with some bonus features. Also on Amazon and Bold Venture Press, Zorro's Exploits, and Zorro, the new one, Zorro Sword Playing Romance. I got to illustrate one story in here and two in here. Now let me bring on tonight's guests. All right, I've got a returning. Actually, I think they've both been on the show at some point. He's a illustrator, animator, storyboard art. He does a lot. Let's bring on Dave Alvarez. Hey, Dave. How you doing?
How you doing, Michael?
Doing good. Thank you for coming on tonight.
Sure.
And our next guest, you guys know him. We've had him on quite a few times. He's the creator of Chucky Chicken, currently working on a pilot for a series. Let's bring on Michael Cook.
What's up, Michael?
How you doing?
He went all the way.
Yes, he did.
And Dave Alvarez, good to meet you, my friend. I'm a big
Mike,
fan.
How are you? Yeah.
Good to...
I don't think you two actually have had a chance to meet. I know it's been a while since Dave, you've been on the show. Last time I had you on, we talked about your video game that
wow.
You were.
That was a while ago.
Yeah. Yeah. How did that end up? We never really finished the conversation, I don't think, about it.
No, I don't think I moved on to another project, but I don't think that game ever came out.
But that was based on your own property.
Yeah, it is, and I'm working on another one of my own property as well. But this one is coming out in September, so
that's awesome. We'll have to have you back then specifically for that.
Oh, thank you.
That's awesome. So yeah, I know actually both of you have short time frames tonight. So let's jump in before we jump into the Looney Tunes stuff. Dave, just for those who don't know, tell the audience who you are, and then we'll have Mike tell the audience.
Oh, well, I suck talking about myself, but yeah, I don't know.
It's okay. You're more important here than me, anyway.
Nah. I don't know. Well, I'm Dave Alvarez. I've been working on animation and comics for quite a while. Mostly known for the Looney Tunes comics that ran from 1998, I think, until, well, I'm still drawing them from time to time when they call me, and if they call me. And most of the things that I've done lately are on animation. I've been working on almost every incarnation of the Looney Tunes.
Wow.
The show, Looney Tunes cartoons, movies, blah, blah, blah. And, well, here I am.
Thanks. And Mike, can you tell us a little bit about you?
I'm a animator out of Chicago. I'm the creator and voice of Chucky Chicken, and I've been animating professionally for about 15 years, and I am recently published a children's book illustrator, which is pretty cool. And we're working right now on our big pilot episode for Chucky Chicken, and it's kind of cool because we're working with some animation legends from the old Warner days, not the old Warner days, but like the 90s. But we have Tom Ruger, who's the creator of Animaniacs and Pinky and the Brain and Freakazoid. He's our executive producer as well as one of our consultants for Keeping It Looney, which is pretty exciting. And, every week we do our podcast, The Cluck and Crew, which, Mike, you've been on, and Dave, we need to get you on. And, all right, you saw it here first, folks.
Yeah.
So that's binding.
And I will say this about Chucky: I've got to see some of the animation, some of the story, and I think it's a great pilot episode you're currently working on.
Oh,
So,
it's going to get better.
uh,
Yeah, we're so excited. I have new stuff to show you. Um, it'll be on our Discord pretty soon here, but we are going back and we're adding more Looney gags, and I think you're going to have a treat with it. I'm so excited.
I can't wait. And I just want to go to the audience. We got a bunch of people in the audience. I want to say hi to Kimberly, to Dylan, to is it I forgot, is it Alam?
Alum. It's like
Alum.
Alan, but with an M. So
I sorry about that. And another Looney Tunes, Warner Brothers comic artist, Rich Maruzio is watching. So if you haven't, he's worked on Animaniacs comics, and he's a great guy.
hi, Rich.
So yeah. So, oops, hold on. We're getting a bunch of comments tonight already. But
That's good.
Yeah.
So we will get to comments in a bit, but first of all, you guys, thank you for coming on. I am really excited. It is Friz Freleng's birthday. Friz was he was one of the, I guess, main directors, if you want to call him that. You know,
I mean, he was second
creator
to
of
Chuck Jones.
this guy right here. Where is he? Right there.
Oh yeah.
Creator of that guy. And they say he is based on his attitude, his personality. So,
And him.
So, and it doesn't have to be Friz that we talk about, even though it's his birthday. I just wanted to do a Looney celebration of or just celebrating the Looney Tunes, because they're a big influence in my style of drawing. They're a big influence in my humor. They're a big influence in a lot of what I do. And I wanted to know how they how they have influenced you guys. But before I do that, Rich says, "Hi, Mike, Dave. I inked some of your stuff in the '90s. Your stuff is great."
Oh yeah, I love your inking too, man.
Yeah.
You finally appeared. I was looking for you.
Yeah. I was about to say, I think I actually remember one of the stories that you drew for the Looney Tunes comics, Dave. It was the one where Daffy was the detective trying to find and locate Bugs Bunny and going all over. So it was a long.
The Death of Who Killed Bugs Bunny, that was written by Dan Slott.
Yeah. So that was a good one.
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah.
I have a story about that one, because when they assigned that story to me, they sent me a box like this big, with a lot of videos of the Looney Tunes, so I could watch each cartoon and draw the main evil guy, because I was going to be a friend with all the main Bugs Bunny enemies, and I need to watch all that. It was cool. It was a cool thing to work on.
Yeah.
Cool. I collected the Looney Tunes books regularly for years. I just love them. I would draw out of them. So I've been a fan of yours for a while, but let's just get back to the point. How I mean, obviously, Dave, you've worked on the Looney Tunes, but how has the Looney Tunes, whether it was the humor or the comics, maybe from when you were younger, how did those things affect you as an artist, inspire you? And this goes for both of you, Michael and Dave.
Well, it affected me in every way. It screwed me up,
It's a good answer.
Yeah, it's basically, I am the disaster that I am today because of that. So, it really affected me, because I grew up with that. There was, for some reason, every channel on my area aired the Looney Tunes in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evenings, and I was always watching. So, I think I know every cartoon by memory by now. It's somewhere here in my brain, and when I get into a project and they talk to me about certain characters, they say, oh, there's this obscure character. Ah, yeah, I know who he is. So, yeah, because I got used to watch all that. But yeah, I'm my foundation is the Looney Tunes. What can I say?
Well, you're living a dream, and I mean,
I am working in that. Eventually, it
yeah.
happened serendipitously. So
Yeah. Oh, my turn. Okay.
Yes.
Well, I mean, I was a kid of the '90s, so I mean, I was very thankful to be one of the last kids, group of kids that grew up with Saturday morning. We were, the Cartoon Network generation, and I was fortunate, and now thankfully it's coming back that you could flip the channels and see the Looney Tunes, right? I think for me, honestly, what I love about them is, and what I'm thankful for Fritz in particular is, my dad is a former electrical contractor. He's been he was an electrician for 40 years. One of the most hard-nosed guys that I, knew growing up. But, he always kind of he was the tough guy. But Yosemite Sam always made him laugh and makes him laugh to this day. And that's kind of how me and my dad bonded, was watching Bugs Bunny take on Yosemite Sam, especially, with him on the pirate ship, you doggone it, you galoot, you'll blow the ship to smithereens. If you does that once more, I ain't a going after it. And, the dragon and just, whoa, when I says whoa, I means whoa. And just seeing my dad laugh at a cartoon, like belly laugh, and just being able to bond with him like that, it made me want to do animation that harkened back to that time period. Because if I can make my dad laugh, then I'm golden. I'm set, right? And I mean, the Looney Tunes. What can you? I mean, my mom was a teacher. Her classroom was decked out in Looney Tunes, decorations. Her favorite was Marvin the Martian, and so we had a Marvin doll that the kids could actually take home over the weekend and write journal entries about Marvin and me. And I grew here in Chicago. We have Six Flags Great America, which, ironically enough, had the Looney Tunes characters before any of the other Six Flags. It was known as Marriott's Great America for many years. And then when Six Flags bought Marriott's, they were able to use Looney Tunes all over the country and now all over the world, which is insane. So Looney Tunes has been a huge part of my life forever. I love Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, Porky Pig. I now look a lot more like Porky Pig than Bugs Bunny, but that's okay. He's cute, right? So
the girls love him, you know that.
yeah.
That's right. But I mean, I think if you are not inspired by the Looney Tunes and you're an animator, you're doing something really wrong. Because those were just the quintessential cartoons. I think I forget who said it, but there were a lot of characters there were a lot of cartoons that had great writing but horrible animation, and then there were cartoons that had great animation and horrible writing, but the Looney Tunes managed to do both. Yeah. And I think that's like, who else but Bugs Bunny could do opera and make it interesting, right?
Yeah.
So
I'm just going to agree. For me, I like you guys. I grew up on them, and it was one of those things I copied regularly. The way I learned to draw was to record cartoons off TV, pause what I saw, and draw the scene.
Yeah,
and when I got and when I got older and wanted to learn how to animate, and I think I said this on your show, Mike, I was a terrible animator as a kid. Like I wanted to learn. I used to try to play it back in slow motion to see if I could figure out the movement, but it wasn't until I got my copy of Chuck-a-Muck, which is up there on one of my shelves, where when you flip through it, the coyote chases the roadrunner and then he falls down and he becomes this accordion thing. And that's the first time I saw how animation actually what. Yep.
There it is.
Yeah.
There
That's
it
the
is.
book.
Exactly, and that's the first time. Actually, that's a newer copy. I think I have the older. My book is torn apart. It's a soft cover.
Oh,
My book, if I just
Oh,
can't get
wow.
it right now. I'll have to show you it. But I got it in 7th grade, and that's when I really started to learn how to animate. I used to copy the Roadrunner and like trace the small little pieces, and that's how I started to learn animation. Like really, like I'm on my way to learn animation was through there. And then you get the Preston Blair book, and you get
Yeah.
all the other books, and
Hmm.
you move on. But yeah, no, it was a really big piece, and I thought I knew how to draw Looney Tunes characters. But Dave, you put out a video,
Here we go.
where you're teaching people how. And listen, I got to throw it in here.
You got to do the plug. I
gotta
get it.
do
I
the plug.
understand.
No, but listen,
shameless plug.
this
This episode brought to you by How to Draw Looney Tunes.
but you have a great video out. I bought the first
Oh, thank
one. I
you.
know you have 2 right now on the Looney Tunes out, right? Or
There's
just
one. The other one
Just
was a live class.
Oh, it was the live.
Yeah,
Piece.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But there's-
Yeah.
I saw the advertisement for the second one. I didn't know if it was a video or not, but
Mhm.
I got to say, I thoroughly enjoyed watching the video. I've watched it about 2 or 3 times now.
Thank you.
And there's little things, and this may me being clueless my whole life up until I really paid attention to your video, but little things like specifically on Bugs Bunny. And I went back after buying your video. I'm going to tell you this. I went back and I watched a lot of Bugs Bunny cartoons specifically.
Mhm.
When did his teeth go from kind of flat to like a
Mm-hmm.
point that you draw?
Yeah. It was a Ken Harris thing.
Mhm.
King Harris used to make that little thing on the teeth.
Oh, the divot?
Huh? What?
The divot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but before that, it was flat. I think
Yeah.
Clampett at some point did something similar, but it wasn't that pointy. And eventually, Chuck Jones went back to flattening it up. But it was Ken Harris when he was working on certain Looney Tunes cartoons that he used to use that too. So it's in the little details. So that's one of them that people barely notice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love watching the Looney Tunes because you can tell who directed what cartoon by just, like looking at Bugs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Chuck Jones drew Bugs slightly different than, Bob Clampett did, or Friz Freleng did, or Robert McKimson, or,
Hmm.
and I think it's so cool to see the evolution of Bugs and sometimes even the personality of Bugs changed. Like there were some where, not obviously everyone knows like Bob Clampett took everything to like 11 with wackiness, but there were even like Bob McKimson who did quite a few of the Bugs. I mean, I know he did the one with the lion, the one with the gorilla. Um, there was just a way that he made Bugs a little wackier than Chuck Jones did, who saw him as sophisticated and as the seasoned performer, and or the just the everyman who had to deal with the bully, right? And Friz, I think, kind of did a little bit of everything, right? He
Yeah.
put Bugs in sort of this scenario similar to Chuck, where he had to deal with the bully, but it was typically the same bully, which was either Yosemite Sam or Rocky and Muggsy, and who I love just because I'm from Chicago and they're from Chicago, so it works out. But it's just so cool and even like characters like Daffy and Porky, you can see, when Chuck is directing Daffy compared to like Friz, and it's just super cool to see just the different. It's literally like they are actors working under different directors and going, okay, you're not working with Chuck anymore. You're working with me. Go nuts.
Yeah, go nuts. It's not only in the look; it's in the acting as well.
Right.
Because we got Clampett, he was very rubber hose and everything that we know now. McKimson was, for some reason, he was big mouth and
Yeah.
the characters always did this. I don't know why, but they always said, and you know what? That's something that they always did, even fucking laughing. And there was Friz Freleng, who was the master in animating mistakes, and
Mhm.
that's one little detail that I love about him. You know, when Sylvester was gonna pick up something from the floor, he didn't pick up on the first thing. He tried it like 3 times. He was like, and he got here. That's something that's a nice little detail, and it was actually Chuck Jones the one who mentioned it because eventually he started doing gag because
Mhm.
because of Friz Freleng. He was his mentor. It was his sample to follow,
Yeah.
and Friz, Bugs Bunny, and all the characters were like, very disciplined in the drawing, very clean, and there was always this white space around them. I don't know why. There's not too many close-ups, but
Right.
yeah. And then it was Chuck Jones. Obviously, he had two stages. The first stage he was wacky, and at the end, like you said, he was sophisticated.
Mhm.
And then the last way he was Chuck.
Yes.
He was just Chuck.
Yeah, yeah. But I gotta say, I think when Chuck moved to more of the sophisticated Bugs Bunny, it was a much more interesting Bugs than his previous shorts with him.
Yes,
Yeah,
because he felt that Bugs Bunny needed a reason to
yeah,
act the way he acted,
Yeah.
and that's something
yeah,
that he always established. He was at peace. He was just drinking his carrot juice, and some guy came along just to screw up the day.
Right.
He
Yeah.
didn't react until he wasn't totally angry. So that was his reason.
I really love how Chuck took the challenge of taking Daffy Duck, who was the former screwball of Warner's, and putting him up against Bugs, who
Hmm.
is the then, you know, major screwball of Warner's.
Yeah.
And just seeing like, I love how I always like to think there's two Daffys, right? There's pre-Chuck and post-Chuck. Pre-Chuck Daffy was, he was a Looney Tune, right? He was crazy. He was insane. You didn't know what he could do. He went, he tormented Porky like nobody's business. I mean, he just was insane. Like he just got, released from the Looney bin. And then after Chuck, it was like, oh my gosh, there's this dark side of this character that, like, you know, wait a minute, like, what happened? He's just been jilted, and it's like, what happened to you? You used to be funny, now you're just angry. Like, come on, man, get over, So I blame Chuck Jones for that. Like, that's I don't. I thought
Yeah.
it was funny, but
I think he was just smoking Donald Duck at
yeah,
that point. He was, trying to. Donald Duck had a temper, and you know, Chuck has had this thing that he wanted to be like Disney, but didn't have the budget,
right.
and and he took those little hints, and I think he turned Daffy into that character because of that. Trying to take it to the extreme. It's not only that he's angry; he's frustrated.
Right.
He's a character,
Oh
Listen, I
yeah.
have all the success, and I don't.
Hey, the scenery. Where's the
No,
scenery?
Yeah.
Dave, I wanted to ask you a question because it always interested me. And Rich, if you're still watching out there and you want to comment as well, you can. Um, Now, when you watch these cartoons, and you pick apart like the humor, the classic Looney Tunes is basically animated vaudevillian humor.
Right.
Mhm.
What is it like to take something from the screen like that kind of has the sight gags and all these word plays and all, and transfer it into the comic form? How does that humor transfer over into the page for you to draw?
Well, when, when I do that, I try to make people think that they're watching a cartoon. I want them to feel that way. Uh, when we started doing those comics, we had our editor, Dana Curtin and John Hilty, eventually. They had this vision that they let us do whatever we thought it was proper to do. When I took one of the scripts I read it first, and then depending on the vibe, it was the way that I was going to translate it to the comic.
Mm.
Okay, this is Chuck Jones, or this is Friz, or this is a Bob Clampett. So
Mhm.
I always ask, can I draw, Bob Clampett's Bugs Bunny for this one? And I said, yeah, sure. So I could get into the mood. So every time that I work on that, I just try to freeze at a specific moment, or a pose that comes into my mind, and so that works out that way. It's like I'm watching a cartoon. I pause it in my mind and draw.
It's funny. It's funny you mention that because I reading the comics, I definitely got that. With the Who Killed Bugs Bunny comic, I remember there was a scene where Daffy is interrogating Elmer Fudd, and he's in the hunting room, and there's all of these cameos, and there's one that's rabbit shaped, and he pulls down the curtain, and it's Buster Bunny, and the next two panels are of Elmer and Daffy looking at each other, kind of chuckling, going, and it felt like it could have easily been a cartoon. And honestly, I mean, all animated cartoons start in comic book form anyway with the storyboard. So I like to think of the Looney Tunes. I mean, I mean no disrespect whatsoever, but it's like a cleaned up, souped up version of like a storyboard that you would present to,
It is.
a
It
teen.
is.
Yeah.
It is. And now that you mentioned that one, I always dance a lot like to, for some reason, call me on the phone, and we went over the story, and we wrote these gags all over it. I remember that one. And he told me, what I like about you drawing the comics is that I leave you space for reactions,
Hmm.
because I like the way you do reactions. So sometimes he just wrote a single thing, and I said, "How many pounds of this?" He said, "Whatever it takes." So that was one of them. The gag was just written in one sentence, and then I went over and drew it because I felt like it needed a moment. It's, oh, they got it like this, and this Buster Bunny. You're like, huh.
Yeah.
Like, nah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something that will happen eventually in the cartoon. You need the
Exactly.
Yeah.
pause. The humor is exactly in that pause. And before that, I used to read those comics, and they didn't have that time. Everything was dialogue, 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 and everything was just stepping one thing on the other, and you needed to stop just to get a chuckle out the reader. Those
Right.
little moments, like he's there, or you like Chuck Jones, for example. There's the coyote, and you take a panel just to scratch his back and go back. Something like that. Those little details, it's like
Mhm.
make people laugh. So.
Oh yeah, Chuck could do subtlety really well. Like I think Chuck kind of went the Jack Benny approach, especially with the coyote, because there were moments where he would just look at the
Mhm.
camera, put his hand on his cheek like Jack Benny used to do, and the audience would roar. I like just those little subtle moments, or even with Bug with like a whisker tweak, or just one eyebrow going up, and
Mhm.
you knew that Bugs was. You could see him thinking. You knew the wheels were turning, and I really, I have to give credit to Chuck for that, because he gave them, he allowed us to see them like live and think and like.
Yeah.
I just speaking of Chuck Jones's stuff, one of the things that always stood out about me in his cartoons are the backgrounds,
Mhm.
and especially when he started removing the realistic Looney Tune backgrounds from
Mhm.
the going more cartoony, and that goes to Maurice Noble, who was an amazing layout background artist, and I
Oh
just
yeah.
got to say his stuff. That's that for me as a kid. That those stood out more for me, the Chuck Jones cartoons, because of the backgrounds, and then later on, the other directors started kind of following a little bit, but
Yeah.
not doing the whole way out there that Maurice would do. You know?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Boris was a genius. He was a
Yeah.
genius, and
He really was.
he knew how to make the background interesting, but it didn't block the acting in front. It was just what it was needed. It was simple and yet to the point.
It was literally the background.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you ever get a chance, check out the book, The Nobel Approach, or The Noble Approach, whatever. It's called, however you say his last name. It's a fantastic book. I've read his biography. I have that book on his take on background. I could just flip that and not even read it, just looking at the artwork.
Yeah, it's a
gorgeous.
fantastic book. Yeah.
But yeah. I know you guys don't have a lot of time tonight. You have about 15 more minutes, Dave?
I've got a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want you to go past the time you need to. So as Looney Tunes fans, as both animators, what how do I say this? What is it like for you to, and I know, Mike, you don't draw Looney Tunes per se, but what is it like
Put me
you?
on a blast, why don't you?
No, but you know what I mean. You're working. You work more rubber hose style. We know that.
I'm like classic Looney Tunes, like Bosco. So
Okay, well, what is it like? Kind of drawing the Looney Tunes as opposed to other characters from the era. Like, I know, Dave, you've done beautiful Disney art.
Thank you.
And Mike, you could draw Disney beautifully as well.
Thank you.
What is it like for you when drawing the Looney Tunes as opposed to another like style from that era?
Yes, they're two very different things. One thing is very different from the other. And when I was working on Warner Brothers Consumer Products, making art for T-shirts and video games and stuff like that, there was this the editor who worked there. He told me that he was like, Disney characters are not the Looney Tunes, and Looney Tunes are not the Disney character, because Looney Tunes are angular. Everything is sharp. Everything is oh shoot, I moved the computer. Everything is angular. Everything is specific. But Disney is roundish, and I suck at doing circles by that time. So, but for some reason, he said, the Bugs Bunny, the Looney Tunes, sorry, are angular, but we need to round their shapes a little bit for merchandise. When you go to merchandise, it's very different from animation, because it needed to be round and appealing to the public. That's when I started getting into the Disney vibe, because I needed to learn first how to draw them in a simple way. But they're two very different things, and it's when I get into working with the Disney characters, I cannot watch a Looney Tunes cartoon before that, because I'll screw everything else. And it's the same thing when I work with Disney. When I work with the Looney Tunes, I cannot go and watch Disney, because I'm gonna draw them beautifully, and everything is rhythmical, and it's not funny. So, yeah, it's two different things, actually.
Yeah.
I would agree. I think that when you draw the Disney characters, there are certain things you can get away with, like proportionally, especially with like Mickey Mouse, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can fudge a Mickey Mouse drawing and people will still think it's an amazing piece of art. You can't do that with a Bugs Bunny drawing. Like, people will know it's either Bugs Bunny or it's a rabbit who's trying really hard to be Bugs Bunny. You can't fudge that. And the Looney, and it's funny because when we do Chucky Chicken, one of the goals for us was to, I call it the Roger Rabbit approach, where we have the beautiful Disney animation, the Warner Brothers comedy, and the Tex Avery kind of humor, And when we were working on designing the characters for redesigning them for the show, I told the gang, like, listen, if the Looney Tunes characters were starting off in black and white, like in the Rubber Hose days, what would they look like? And how would you draw, because there are elements of it, especially in like Daffy Duck, he gets freaked out and his eyes go from two separate eyes to one giant pupil with two little, or one iris with two pupils. So it's there. Like those classic sensibilities are still, very present in a lot of the Looney Tunes, but it is very, like Dave said, angular. And
Mhm.
so I really, I gotta admit, I've always struggled drawing the Looney Tunes characters more than I have the Disney characters. And I guess I have to go get that course now, so that way I can learn how to draw them better. But yeah, it is completely different. Disney was more the illusion of life. It was more musically, like the term Mickey Mousing comes from those classic cartoons where you animated to the music or you did the music to the animation. I forget which one it is, but and the Warners, the music accentuated what was going on in the scene, right? Because you can listen to a Carl Stalling score and know exactly what's going on in the cartoon. Like
Mhm.
you hear the plunks of the strings as someone is like tiptoeing across the plane, or the fluttering of the flutes or the instruments, and you can feel the action and you can see it in your mind. Whereas if you listen to like a classic Disney soundtrack, you don't necessarily get that. And I apologize for the jackass in the parking lot who's making
Are you
noise.
driving?
No, I'm parked. I'm outside of
Oh, okay,
this
okay.
venue, but I'm right next to the parking lot, and
It's actually why I wear headsets too, because I live right by a hospital, and the sirens that
Oh,
go throughout the day and night here. If I
yeah.
don't put the headsets on, you hear sirens nonstop. By the
Oh
way,
yeah.
oh.
So, but in terms
yeah,
of drawing the characters, absolutely, it really is night and day. And um, you know, when I get let's just say that I take more pride in drawing a good picture of a Warner's character than I do a Disney character, because when people say, "Oh, that's Bugs Bunny," or "Oh, that's Daffy Duck," and they fall in love with it, like that to me is just super cool. I'm like, okay, I've leveled up, so let's go do Yosemite Sam now.
oh, something's going on. I'm sorry. Hold on.
And then,
Okay. No, sorry, I heard something. So Rich says the difference is you could do anything with the Looney Tunes characters and put them anywhere the Disney characters are limited,
That's
not
true
which
too.
is true. Very
well,
true.
kind of, because you can put the Disney characters depending on how you draw them.
Right.
Yeah. For example, I've been trying to do that lately, which eventually, for some reason, worked. I was doing some stuff. Well, I'm still doing some stuff for Disney Creative Group, which they are in charge of consumer products and doing things for Disney.
Hmm.
So they approached me for some artwork that was going to be needed for an upcoming anniversary. I cannot say which one. So they say, we want everything drawn in your style. And I was, what was that? No, no, we want everything, the energy that you give to the Looney Tunes, we want you to give it to the Disney characters. And I was, okay, I will.
Yeah.
So I drew all of them in my style and all of that. And then, I send them like this. Text. Just waiting for this wordy thing, saying,
Yeah.
"Oh, what are you
Hmm.
doing?" But eventually they don't like it, So it's a matter of it's something that we have. We see Mickey Mouse in nurseries, and we see Mickey Mouse in baby bottles, and that's what we have in our minds.
Hmm.
But when we think about the personality, we can go way beyond that. That's what I'm trying to do. For example, you see
Oh yeah.
Mickey. Mickey's the right guy, but he's surrounded by all these crazy people. The doctor is angry, the stupid big dog that is goofy. You know,
He's
so
very much like Kermit the Frog that way.
exactly, it's,
Hmm.
it's like Kermit the Frog. It's surrounded by crazy people.
Yeah.
You bring that to the style, and it kind of works. Bad. Just an
No.
Um, what you were
Oh,
going to say something like?
yeah. I do agree with Dave. It just and honestly, I think when it comes to the Disney style, um, I think that the closest that they've ever gotten to like doing the Warner style, I think, was with Aladdin, right? Even Robin Williams said that Aladdin is just a Warner Brothers cartoon and Disney drag.
Mhm.
And I think that, there's no denying it. The reason for that is because of Eric Goldberg. Just the way that he came in and he designed the genie, and he was responsible for the visual look of that movie. And of course, he had experience. I think he did. You could correct me if I'm wrong, Dave. But he had
Mhm.
experience with Warner's. He
Yeah.
definitely had it with Richard Williams for sure. But he comes from that Warner school. And honestly, I love Aladdin is my all-time favorite Disney movie. For that reason, because the comedy is there, the visual comedy is really well. It's written extraordinarily well, even though maybe 25% of it is improv. But
Exactly.
yeah, I think that there's a fun way where they can both work and make it. And with you, Dave, and Eric, it is kind of like if Warner's and Disney had a baby. And you guys are kind of like my inspiration for what we do with Chucky Chicken as well. So
No, thank you.
yeah,
I still want to meet Eric at some point. I haven't met him.
I actually got to meet him for like
Yeah.
10, 15 seconds. It was at a D23 event a couple of years ago.
Oh, cool.
And he is responsible for the current Cirque du Soleil show that is in Disney World.
yeah.
And it's about an animator who passed away, and his daughter goes to the animation table to try to cope with the death. And she starts animating, and it cuts between animation and the performances. So I actually have a trip planned in November. I'm hoping to go see the show back then. But he was there talking about it. And what happened was my wife just took a quick walk, and she goes, you should go take a walk. I'm like, no, I'm fine. I'm watching the event. She's like, no, you should take a walk outside. And he was sitting at a table.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
you know what? And you know what bothered me is I have 2 copies of his animation book, the character Crash Course, whatever. It's called. And I'm like, I should bring one just in case I get to be. I'm like, I'm never gonna meet him. And then, but I did get a photo with him. Very nice guy. Very, very sweet guy. Really, really enjoyed chatting with him. But I just want to go to one of the comments. Super D says, "Thing with Looney Tunes, they're treated more like actors who all hate each other and can be paired however the writer sees fit. Whereas Disney are more friendly and grouped together."
I disagree with that. I don't think they all hate each other.
No.
I
just
think,
Bugs and Daffy.
Yeah, well, Yosemite Sam too, but and Elmer Fudd, and Gossamer, and Marvin the Mar. Okay, you know what? Maybe he's right. I think about it. I don't think they hate each other. I think they just, they play well together, and they have great screen chemistry.
Yeah, there was this note that we got from Warner Brothers when I was working there, and they say, okay, the Looney Tunes hate each other. They want to eat each other. They want to beat each other. They want to destroy each other. They're not the Mickey and the Gang group. And I was okay, I clear. Don't worry. So every time they work on them, remember that they hate each other when they're on the screen, and they don't address each one by name. They almost never do.
That's
He's
true.
the dog. He's the rabbit. They never go, hey, Bugs, come here, unless he wants something. Bugsy.
Bugsy pal.
Yeah, then he comes along. But they don't address them by name. I didn't notice until they mentioned it. It's true. They never do. It's something
That's true.
happens randomly that when the name comes around.
Yeah.
But Mickey and the Gang, they had their issues too, but it's not that as big as the Looney Tunes.
No.
No.
Well, maybe Donald, but
Donald has it all the time.
Well, he's 90 years old. He's earned it.
Yeah, he's earned it.
Well, guys, listen, I know you both have to run very shortly, so I'll try to wrap it up in a moment. But before we go, what I'd like to know is, do either of you have a favorite Looney Tunes cartoon, and if so, which one?
A Looney Tunes cartoonist? Or
No, cartoon. Like, what's your favorite short that you can watch anytime?
Oh, I don't know. Duck Fire Duck. There's I think that's one of my favorites, and Duck Amuck, obviously.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Duck Amuck, Wabbit Season is
Rabbit
one.
season.
Uh, Bully for Bugs is another great one.
Hmm.
Um, Duck Dodgers,
Duck
and
Dodgers is my favorite. Yeah,
you know, um, Cats Anonymous is another great one too.
that's a
Um,
good one.
Anything with Yosemite Sam, I think, is another. He just has his own category. Yosemite
Yeah.
Sam cartoons, like I can watch those and just laugh my ass off any day of the week. Before we do go, I want to get your guys' opinion if you've seen it. There's this amazing YouTube documentary called The Merry History of Looney Tunes, where it's like a good 6 hours broken up into like 5 videos
Wow.
about
Yeah.
the history from the Leon Schlesinger Bosco days all the way to they ended it right at the closing of the studio at the 70s currently, but they plan to go, I think, into the 80s and the 90s. If you've seen it, what are your thoughts? And if you haven't seen it, is that something that you would go and check
I,
out?
I was about to say, maybe I thought I seen it, but you got me at 6 hours.
Yeah,
Well,
I haven't
it's like
seen it.
5 episodes, like broken up in like 45 minutes each. So
Yeah, I might have to see it. Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll have to look that up.
yeah.
And Rich says his favorite was Rhapsody Rabbit.
Oh, Rhapsody Rabbit.
Oh,
of
that's
course.
right.
That is a good
Yeah.
one too. Yeah. Whoops.
Okay, let me ask you this: Who which one should have won? The Tom and Jerry cartoon or Rhapsody Rabbit?
The Tom and Jerry cartoon.
Yeah, the one.
Yeah.
The corny cat soda.
Because they stole it. You know, it was they was deliberately stole it. So it was something that when I read it, it was so unfair. But
Mhm.
oh, and beside that, you know, Bugs was out of character. You know, they're being angry at a mouse
Yeah,
for no reason. It was something that might happen to either Daffy, but Daffy wasn't an angry character by that time
right.
yet, or maybe Elmer. But you know, in my opinion, you know, Tom and Jerry did the best. So
I agree.
more natural.
So let's end it there for tonight. I wish we could go longer, but I know both of you have other stuff going on tonight.
We'll have to do
So
it another time. Let's do it for Chuck Jones.
you know, we could talk Chuck Jones all day long for me.
Yeah,
He is my favorite Looney Tunes director. I'm not going to say I don't laugh at the other stuff, but Chuck is my favorite director. I could probably watch anything he did over and over again without any issues.
Yeah.
So
so do I.
yeah.
Yep. I'm with you there.
So yeah, thank you guys for coming on and taking time out of your day, even though you had other stuff going on. I really do appreciate it.
Of course. We
Um,
appreciate you.
Thank you for having us.
Oh,
Yeah.
anytime. Would you like to tell people how they can find you on social media?
Go ahead, Michael.
Oh, okay. Honestly, you can find me on Twitter. My personal handle is Michael Cook 2007, and on Instagram at InfoMikeCook07. But the best way that you can support what I do is, instead of looking for me, look for Chucky Chicken cartoons. We're all over everywhere. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Newgrounds, Kara, Threads, Blue Sky Social. So look for the chicken, and that's odds are it's me.
And
So-
don't forget YouTube, where you.
Oh yes, of course. Yes,
Yeah.
every week we do our Cluck and Crew podcast, Wednesday or Thursdays, 5:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, and be on the lookout for Chucky Chicken Films of a Feather coming when it's done.
Important. In my case, I have just my webpage, but you can find there all my social media, all my stuff. Recently, it was refurbished by my lovely wife, Irene, is www.dascomics.com. You can go there and then everything is there. You can find everything. So it's, again, it's dascomics.com. Why comics? I don't know. But
And Dave, we have to have you on the Cluck and Crew sometime very, very soon.
yeah, of course.
Nice.
All right. And you guys know me at Michael Gracia and at the Wiz Comic on both Facebook and Instagram. Thank you guys for coming on again. And you guys tune in next week when we're going to be doing a Jack Kirby tribute because the 28th is Kirby's birthday. So
Woo!
we'll be
Happy
talking
Kirby
about all the.
birthday.
Excelsior! Oh, wrong guy.
Yes, wrong guy on that one.
Very wrong guy.
All right, guys. Have a great night.
Thanks.
All right.
Thanks,
You
Michael.
too.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you.